The clock strikes 9. Complete stillness all around the house. The knocking, the banging, and even the leaves outside have ceased to make noise. It's quiet, like the calm before a storm. The lights went out. The whole house is now completely swallowed by darkness. I strained and I struggled to find candles to light. I found my cell phone. I tried to turn it on, but the battery was dead. Luckily, on top of the dresser there was a candle. I looked for matches. I found some next to the table lamp next to my bed. I lit the candle, and the room was illuminated with warm, buttery light. Everything was quiet. I looked on top of the dresser. The Santo Niño was gone again. Just as I was getting used to the stillness and quiet, I hear a soft scratching against the front door. My fear came back. I looked around for any weapon. I have no idea if it would work on them, but I know it will make me feel better. The scratching has stopped. A few moments later, the scratching began again. This time the back door. The scratching became louder and turned into banging. I must be losing my mind. I found a piece of wood in the closet. I armed myself with it. I kneeled and I prayed. This night may just be longer than my life, but I'm not going to go down without a fight. God or no God, I refuse to die cowering. I'll take my chances. I'm going to run to the front door and run to town if I have to. If they want me, they have to catch me first. Mustering whatever strength I had left on my knees, I summoned whatever is left of my bravery. On wobbly knees I stood up. If I die tonight, I will make them work for it. I readied myself. I grabbed the bottle given to me by Ben from the old lady. I opened the door with haste and ran downstairs. I ran as fast as I could towards the front door. I grabbed the doorknob. I twisted and pulled. Nothing. The door felt like it was sealed shut. It wouldn't budge. As I was struggling, the back door swings wide open and slams against the wall. With shock, I ran towards the family room where I found the Santo Niño sitting on the rocking chair. This is all your fault. You brought them all here. I grabbed the Santo Niño and I threw it against the wall, and the porcelain statue broke into many pieces. I hear footsteps walking towards me. I ran to the next room I could find. It was dark. It seemed breaking the Santo Niño agitated whatever was out there. I hear the footsteps. It stopped at the door. I'm safe here. For now. I tried to feel my way around the room. The darkness was so thick, I can't make out any shape. I stumbled into an old wooden cabinet. A box fell on top of me. I used my hands to feel around. Lucky for me, the two things I needed was in the box. A candle and a match. I lit the candle and looked around the room as it began to illuminate. I see a painting of my great-grandparents. I looked into the box. It was filled with pictures of my ancestors. I gasped and fell back when I saw my great-great-grandmother. She was wearing the same black cloak and black cloth, the same mask as those women in town. All the hair in my body stood up and I felt an all too familiar shiver. I found a few more pictures. It was my great-great-grandfather when he was on his last days. Sifting through the box, I found a few papers with handwritten messages on them. Dear Diary, today I followed Mama towards the plantation. She hasn't been feeling well since Papa's death. She's been wearing black this past few weeks and always going to the plantation at night. I wanted to check on her to see if she was okay. When I arrived at the plantation, I hid behind the mango trees. Mama didn't notice me. She kept walking towards the back of the plantation. It's a cornfield there, and since Papa's death, we were no longer allowed to go there. I kept a safe distance from Mama. I didn't want her to find out I was following her. I would be in serious trouble if she found out. Lately, I've been having nightmares of a man trying to get into the house. Mama stopped walking in the middle of the field. I was surprised that the middle of the field was barren. There were no corns there, just a cross. I ducked behind the thick part of the field where it would be hard to discover me. Some people began to arrive. They were wearing exactly what Mama was wearing. I couldn't see any of their faces because of the black hood they wore on their heads. But I know at least one of them. It was my aunt. I recognized her voice. A few moments later, a young man was brought in. They tied him up and nailed him to the cross. I had to cover my mouth to muffle my scream. It was horrible. I couldn't believe my family could do such a thing. Then I hear Mama mention something about the reincarnation of my father. They started piling chopped wood around the cross and lit it on fire. There was a very big lightning that came down and struck some of the people that were there. They burned alive. The young man that was crucified suddenly regained consciousness and smiled. Everything around began spinning. I fell back, and when I regained consciousness, I was locked in the attic. After a while, my mama came up and spoke to me. She said that I was sleepwalking and ended up in the cornfields where the son of one of the farmers found me. She said that I was lucky because there was a thunderstorm coming. Confused, I tried to probe the subject, but she brushed it off. I was back in my room resting when my babysitter came and brought me dinner. She looked at me with fear in her eyes. She looked pale. She took something out of her shirt. It was wrapped in a newspaper. She gave it to me and kissed my forehead, saying, "For as long as this is with you, you will always be safe." I opened the newspaper wrapping, and it was the most beautiful porcelain centennial. It is said that it will protect you from harm. It will guard your door and windows against evil. I was so happy to receive this gift. The centennial. Next to the letter was a picture of her and the centennial together. It was the same centennial I found, the same centennial I broke. I just doomed myself. Fear rushed throughout my body and tears fell down from my face. I did not come from a lineage of doctors. I came from a long line of people who practiced black magic and necromancy. Came from a lineage who cursed people. Confused and afraid. Completely hopeless. It occurred to me that every time something bad was happening, the Santo Niño was there. Not because it started it, but because it was stopping it. It was protecting me. The door creaked open. I looked around and see a figure inserting itself in the opening of the door. A dark, shadowy figure. My breathing became short and heavy. All strength from my body is now gone. It was coming closer. It's looking at me. I snapped back. With that brief moment of clarity, I remembered I was carrying the bottle. I opened the lid and poured the content all over me. I noticed the figure took a step back. And with this came a rush of a newfound courage. I tried to be as intimidating as I could, telling it to go away and to return to where it came from. I didn't have as much strength as I thought I did. With wobbly knees, I could only take small steps forward. Its eyes glowed an angry red. It was angry at me, but still retreating back. This dark entity slowly faded away. I was so relieved I went back to the family room. The pieces of the Santa Nina were gone. Relieved that whatever dark, malignant entity has left me alone. I went to the back door and closed it. I found some pieces of wood and I boarded up the broken window. I went back to my room. The clock struck 3. It's 3 a.m. The sun will rise in 2 hours and this day will just be another memory. I waited for an hour just sitting on the edge of the bed. Sleep was visiting me. My eyes grew heavy. The house remained perfectly still and quiet. I laid my head in bed. I closed my eyes and prayed. I took a long, deep breath. I kept my eyes closed. I was drifting off to sleep, and everything went dark. I felt hands around my neck and something heavy on my chest. I struggled to open my eyes. There was complete darkness, and the only thing I saw was its eyes looking down on me. It spoke. You think that bottle was to protect you. The bottle you poured all over you was not to repel me, but to invite me in. The grandfather clock made a noise, and I gazed on my clock. It said 3 a.m. How could this be? It was 4, almost 5 a.m. It was almost sunrise. Everything faded to black. I regained consciousness. I looked around. Everything was covered in darkness. I hear crying and wailing, but I can't see anyone or anything. I see a mirror, illuminated by some kind of light. To my surprise, it wasn't a mirror. I saw myself walking down the stairs, greeting Ben, and now they're eating breakfast. I screamed and yelled for Ben to help me. They both stopped eating, and they turned their heads towards me, as if they can see me, and they smiled. They both just smiled. Everything turned dark. I felt my body was drifting down, slowly. Silence all around me.